Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. It is Sunday, December 17th, 2023. Hope you're all enjoying your weekend, getting some quality family time, hopefully, and being productive. I appreciate you guys being here and watching these videos, subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, most importantly, sharing the videos with family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues, those that will pay attention and want to have an open mind, learn something, and be on top of what is unfolding with this economy. Appreciate the comments on yesterday's video. The views were real low. Maybe it's everyone's out shopping, but there were a lot of comments about the prep categories. I'll break those down. It seems like there's some interest in it. I'll break that down in future shows. Obviously, each one has its own details and specifics. I appreciate everybody's input. I did receive a comment I responded to one subscriber about kind of making fun of me for doing a prep video from the convertible car in sunny California. I mean, I get that. The end of the day is that everybody is in a different circumstance. Everyone lives in a different location. I mean, if you live on a self-sufficient ranch somewhere, either in the United States or somewhere in the world, hey, that's great. I mean, more power to you. That definitely is a benefit, and I think will be a benefit. But you know what? I don't live in that location. I have to kind of deal with what is on my plate and my circumstance, as we all do. My approach towards being prepared has always been take the time, make the effort. You have to start slow like everything else. It does take money. It takes resources. Is it fun? Not really. I mean, does it take commitment? It does. It's not a instant gratification type thing or a hobby. From my perspective, you have to take it seriously. And a lot of people don't want to do that. So many probably won't listen. Those are the same people that are going to be showing up at your front door, my front door, asking for food, asking for security, asking for some extra blankets and a flashlight. So keep that in mind. But I'm also of the mindset that, once you get these items in place, whatever your plan is, you keep fortifying it. You always add to it. You're always learning. It's a learning process. But once you get to a certain level, it's almost like, and I don't want to say set it and forget it, because you constantly have to check these things. You've got to rotate some of this stuff out. You have to make sure you're replacing, batteries, things like that. But once you've done your due diligence, done your homework, and you have a certain level of preparedness, you can go on to other stuff. I mean, you can start putting your time, your energy, and most importantly, your money into taking advantage of other opportunities that might present themselves. Whether that's accumulating some extra gold and silver for for being your own bank, for your savings plan, whether it is investing in some cryptos if that's your thing, whether it's buying some real estate if that's your thing. The point is that it is something that I believe should be a priority. To the gentleman that commented to me, and I wrote back and said, look, once you get to that point, not only are you taking advantage of other opportunities that you can hopefully avail yourself of, but you can't be prosperous living in a bunker. You can't be prosperous being isolated. From my perspective, on a large farm by yourself. With nobody else part of your team, and everyone has their own perspective, but the quality of life from my perspective is important. And look, life is short, so you make those decisions, and hopefully you can do the best you can with what you have, and then try to enjoy the beauty of life, enjoy a friend's family, and enjoy opportunities that present themselves beyond that preparedness. Again, do it, train, be smart, be alert, but there's more to life from my perspective than just stacking food and water. And I've been doing it for since about 2012. So I've made some good headway. Again, it never really ends, but it can't, from my perspective, control every single move you make. I'll get off the topic for now. I'll try to address these in future shows in terms of breaking it down further. a couple of important articles today that came out that I think are worth discussing with all of you. Number one, this is from Zero Hedge yesterday. Number of Americans in upside down car loans continues to worsen. It says consumers face increasing financial difficulties due to elevated inflation, a generational high in interest rates, maxed out credit cards, lack of personal savings, and 2 years of negative real wage growth amid the mounting failures of Bidenomics. The latest distress is that the number of Americans in upside down auto loans has reached the highest level since 2020. This is according to automotive research firm Edmunds.com. The number of Americans with auto loans underwater or with negative equity in November reached an average of 6,054, the highest level since April 2020. Interestingly enough, what was going on in April 2020? We were just starting to get into the pandemic, so things were already, on a really, really bad track. And then all this free money got pumped in, and people were giving out car loans for no interest and drive off with low fees, and so everything got pumped back up. But that's interesting that the last time that the number of Americans with auto loans underwater was as of early 2020. It says the average rate for a new car loan right now is 7.4%. It's 11.6% for a used car. And the average new car loan has reached, this is a record high of $40,000. $40,000 at over 11%. That is a substantial monthly payment, guys. So who is affording this stuff? Evidently, according to what we'll be talking about in a second, people are struggling with the car loan payments. This is it says the higher amount of car loan debts is which was to be expected. After all, latest consumer credit report from the Fed revolving credit shows high interest rates have bogged down student and auto loans. In other words, the consumer is stretched. We're in this situation where, combined with the cost of the vehicles being so high and the interest rates being so historically high as well, you have a lot of people who are in bad car loans. Joseph Yoon, consumer insights analyst for Edmunds, told Bloomberg. To Yoon's point, the percentage of subprime auto borrowers at least 60 days past due in September topped 6.11%. That says that's the highest ever. So do you think we're going in the right direction? Do you think what you're seeing in the stock market is indicative of the economy on good footing, the consumer on good footing, and a soft landing? I would beg to differ on that. It says the bear market in used car prices will only accelerate the number of auto loans underwater in 2024. So the bear market in used car prices, that means that the prices are dropping. The balance in your loan isn't dropping, so you're going to be negative equity. You're going to owe more on your vehicle than it is worth. You couldn't go and sell it if you wanted to, unless you want to write a check to your buyer for the difference. And that's happening and going to start happening a lot more in the residential market as well, both commercial and residential, guys. So look, it's another indicator of bad economic news. Okay, let's talk about retirement. And this article I thought was informative from Fortune today. It says Gen X has the largest wealth gap of any generation, and it means the American dream of retirement is going to be a nightmare for them. Being, I guess, in this category, it's eye-opening to see the reality of how bad people's financial situation is. It says the oldest members of Generation X are swiftly approaching the traditional retirement age, but few are financially prepared for the next chapter, a new report finds. Sandwiched between the larger baby boomer and millennial generations, Gen X typically doesn't get as much attention as its older and younger cohorts, despite making up around 20% of the population. It says, but America needs to start paying attention. Born between 1965 and 1980, the Gen Xers are on the cusp of their seventh decade. theoretically just a few years away from leaving the workforce. And I was born in 1970. I'm 53. I don't. I guess I don't even embrace the concept of retirement. I mean, for me, not working. What are you gonna do? Go play golf all day? Take 7 cruises a year? Sit on your couch and get fat and watch TV? When you stop becoming relevant, you know what? You die. So I don't know. The whole idea of retirement and the 401k for me, it never really clicked. I don't. That's not my personality. Although I'm a Type A guy, and I always have this nervous energy, like I need to be doing something to be productive. So I guess just from my perspective, retirement. I always tell people, I'll probably have a heart attack at my desk, working on some kind of a case or something. But I know that sounds depressing. But what are you going to do? You retire and sit around all day? I could imagine something worse. It says, and according to new research, many are not prepared for a comfortable retirement. They have the largest wealth gap of any generation, according to the Schroders 2023 U.S. Retirement Survey. On average, these workers say it will take a bit over $1.1 million in savings to retire comfortably, but expect to have around $660,000 saved. Over 60% of non-retired Gen Xers are not confident, it says, in their ability to achieve a dream retirement, compared to 49% of millennials and 53% of baby boomers. I don't know what a dream retirement even means. If they're saying a dream retirement is having a $1.1 million in the bank, I don't know. You guys answer that question for yourself. This is a recent study from the National Institute on Retirement Security, the NIRS. A nonprofit research organization found the typical Gen X household has $40,000 in retirement savings, while the average has $153,300, according to Fidelity Investments. Far less, of course, than the $1.1 million they think they'll need. As the difference between the typical amount and the average indicates, retirement savings is highly concentrated among top Gen X earners, according to NIRS's report. The top 25% has $250,000 on average, while the bottom quartile has around $35,000. The median is more striking, with the bottom quartile having just $200 saved for retirement, almost nothing. And we know most people can't afford a $400 expense if there's an emergency. I'm assuming that applies. I don't want to assume, but I believe that probably applies across the board, regardless of what age group you're in. It says, in fact, Gen X is the only generation in which a majority believe they won't be financially prepared for retirement, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2023 Planning and Progress Study. They also found markedly lower feelings of financial security than other generations. I wonder why that is. It says Gen X is also notable because they're the first generation to rely on 401k plans instead of pensions and the next in line to retire. Only about 14%, it says, of Gen Xers have a pension. Broadly speaking, Gen X is on the hook for saving a lot more of their retirement on their own than boomers. And they also found the rise of student loan debt, as well as higher healthcare costs than the generations before them, have contributed to this disparity. Gen Xers are projected to live longer than boomers, meaning they will likely need even more saved. Good point. If you live to be 90 versus 80, you need 10 more years of reserves set aside. And lastly, it closes by saying most Gen Xers don't have a pension plan. They've lived through multiple economic crises. Wages aren't keeping up with inflation. We know that, and costs are rising. The American Dream, this guy, Dan Doonan, executive director of the NIRS, says, quote, the American dream of retirement is going to be a nightmare for too many Gen Xers. So look, this is another reason why it makes sense, I think, to consider starting your own business, Gen Xers. Consider getting out there and figuring out something that you can do that is lasting, that it's not going to force you out the door at a certain age, that's not going to require, well, for example, let me talk about my brother is a tennis coach, and he teaches private tennis. Southern California. Successful, does great, but his body's starting to break down. And he's going to get to a point where he has a knee issues, Achilles issues, that he's not going to be able to do this anymore. And so what's the fallback plan? So if you guys are in a industry, construction as well, if you're hammering nails, if you're humping 2x4s and building houses, you're going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So maybe look at something, not telling you what to do, but maybe look at something that you can do that will keep up with or be able to allow you to operate and make income and generate revenue, that doesn't rely on physical conditioning. Anyway, a couple of extra thoughts there. I told one of my subscribers I would briefly address the issue of estate planning today, and I will, and not the whole concept of wills and trusts and estate planning. Everybody has different laws, state to state, and you have to consult a lawyer in your jurisdiction. But I've done a video before on estate planning. I think it's extremely important to have a will. Consider having a trust, having powers of attorney for health care and asset decisions and management. If you become incapacitated, it's just responsible. I mean, I've had that stuff in place for many, many years. Once you put it in place, for the most part, you stick it in your safe and you forget about it, update it once in a while. Let's talk about this particular question was about, what happens if you have assets that are, outside the banking system. And I guess that would go for, jewelry. It would go for, gold and silver if you're a stacker of metals. Any, watches, certain heirlooms you've received, been handed down through the generations. Those are tangible personal property, at least in California. If you're doing a trust, a revocable trust, you need to list those things as an asset of your trust, and you need to also do an assignment. Talk to your lawyer about how to do this, but you have to do an assignment, a general assignment of personal property, to make sure that your trust is funded with those assets. And look, I was thinking about this morning. You also need to make sure that your trustee, if it's a trust, or your executor, if it's a will, knows where these assets are. You see these stories all the time about people that have buried gold or silver, in their backyard, and these treasure troves are found, or they put them in pipes in their attic, or this or that, or under their couches. The question is, I guess one would assume that the intention was that somebody would receive those someday and benefit from those, but it depends. I mean, a lot of estate wishes of people, probably get unfulfilled because they haven't taken the time to leave proper directions to their successors as to where, number one, these assets are located and how they're to be distributed to the beneficiaries. So if it's a trust, you have to fund it properly, talk to your lawyer. If you do an assignment, if it's a will, you basically just have to reference those things in the document, at least in California, and then obviously designate a beneficiary for those. So yes, it's easy to do. You just have to just document it. And most importantly, I would say leave some appropriate instructions and directions about where this stuff is located. I mean, if it's in your safe in your house, if it's in safe deposit box, is it buried, in the backyard? So otherwise, look, it's not going to get addressed. No one will know where it is. And your beneficiaries will likely be deprived of something that you probably worked hard and gave a lot of thought to during your life. So it all has to do with making sure that our wishes are fulfilled upon our death, right? Upon our demise. And if it's for our kids or grandkids or whatever, it just takes some preparation, some responsible actions. Do it the right way. Go see an attorney. Okay. I got my workout in today. Let's close out with the fitness. Full body this morning. I felt great. Yesterday was my day off. Just needed to rest. I walked about 2 hours last night at a family function. We went to a local place. So I got some steps in. Didn't do nothing. Even on days off, it's not good to do nothing. You still have to move, get your steps in. So I hope all of you exercise today. And didn't just sit on the couch on Sunday and watch football all day. That is not the way to go from my perspective. With that being said, I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will talk to all of you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.